trying something new today. I've got this this lapel mic. I figured I would, just graduate to something a little bit more professional, and maybe this will help you out with hearing me a little bit better because I know I'm a little soft-spoken, and maybe you'll get a little bit of those ASMR like mouth sounds. You know what I'm talking about. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes. But as of now, I got my coffee. I'm all bundled up in my pajama cardigan, and I am ready to get this podcast started. Hello, and welcome to episode 23 of the Cozy Moth Knits podcast. My name is Caitlin, and this is a podcast dedicated to my fiber arts crafts, primarily knitting. Crocheting is making more of a prominent appearance, as I'll talk about a little bit later. I have all the intentions of learning more fiber arts crafts, as I've talked about in my previous podcast episode, which you can take a look at now. Not now, but if you want to save it for later to watch, so you can see my 2022 fiber arts goals, you can go ahead and watch that. Not listen. It is a podcast. I guess you could technically listen. I don't know about you, but for me, for my podcasts, while I do, like to sit and watch my friends, especially, I do like to just put it on my TV downstairs and clean up the kitchen or wash dishes or make dinner or whatever. Have that parasocial relationship that, we all have with our content creators. My husband and I just had a conversation about that the other night, and how it's interesting, the parasocial relationships, but it's just so common now that it's not weird anymore, we're all friends here on the internet. But anyway, welcome. If this is your first time tuning into one of my podcasts, again, welcome. Great to have you here. I post these podcasts monthly. I try to do it at the end of the month, just to recap what I've been working on, my plans for the upcoming month, etc. And I do like to post little other videos throughout the month if I have the time. But this is, this is just my little corner of the internet, and I'm happy to have you here. If this isn't your first time watching and you've been watching for a long time, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. That way, when I post, you'll be notified when I post, and you can watch me talk about my knitting or whatever. And, feel free to, hit the like button, leave a comment. I always like to reply to comments the first day or two after I post a podcast. I love getting to know you. I'm starting to recognize names in the comments now. And, and if you've already done all that and you don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram. I'm definitely a lot more active over there. I did make it another one of my 2022 goals to be more active when it comes to posting, on my grid. I do like to post stories, but on my grid, I'm trying to make more of an effort to post pictures there, and to engage with my audience more. I mean, if you send me a DM, I'm most likely gonna reply to you. But yeah, I mean, I'm always on my Instagram. I'm always commenting on my friends' posts and drawing inspiration from Instagram. So I'm definitely on. Sorry, got distracted. Definitely on my my knitting Instagram at least 5 times a day. A bit of a problem, but don't we all? You're here watching me on YouTube. We all have a bit of a problem with the internet, right? But anyway. We'll get things, and again, if this is your first time seeing me, a little bit about myself. I live in Delaware, and, you might be wondering, where is Delaware? I mean, the where is in the name of the state, but I am in the United States. I'm in between Virginia, Pennsylvania, and just below Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, above Virginia, adjacent to Maryland. My husband and I, Phil, have gone to other places in the United States, and like we obviously don't look like we're from California or Colorado. So they're like, "Oh, where are you guys from? Are you on vacation?" Blah blah. I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're from Delaware." And they're like, "Oh, what state is that in?" I'm like, "It is a state. It's one of the 50. It's the first state, actually." So yes, that's where I am. It is currently snowing outside. It's a bit of a blizzard. Well, it looks worse than what it really is. I just went outside. It's powdery. It's not like icy or anything, thankfully, because I do have to go to work in a couple hours. But yeah, it's fine. It looks worse than what it really is. Um, but I know I'm in northern Delaware, but I know southern Delaware is getting hit really hard. Right there by the beach. But um, but yeah, so yeah, it's snowing and it's perfect timing because tomorrow, not even 18 hours from now, I will be on a plane with my family going to Florida. So we're gonna escape the horrible cold of January and February, and we're gonna soak up some sun and walk around Disney and Harry Potter Land. And is that what it's called? Harry Potter Land, Harry Potter World? I don't even know the Harry Potter stuff. But that's what I'm going to be doing at the beginning of February, and I'll probably take some vlog footage and show you guys. But yeah, so okay, I told you who I am, told you what I do, just plugged my social media, and I told you about the weather. Okay, now let's move forward. But yeah, put my coffee down and get my notes. I have a hair clip behind me. It just plopped. So I feel like I have a bunch to talk about today, but like don't have a lot to show, if that makes any sense. But I guess we'll just get things started. We'll start with my finished object, which there is only one. Throughout all of, well, only one that I can show you. How about that? So through all of January, for your information, I work a full-time job in the medical field, and then I have a part-time job working in my field, my chosen field, which is in a library, the library and information science community. I do work at a college library here in Delaware, and throughout January, the college is in winter session, so that means that their hours at the library are reduced, but they still wanted me to come in, so I would literally work 12-hour days. I would work my 8 hour, like my 8 or 9 hours at my full-time job, and then I would drive straight to the college library and work 2 or 3 hours, and then plus work another 5 hours on Saturdays. So I was busy. I was so busy. I like barely had any time to do anything. So I'm looking back on all my stuff and I'm like, man, like I didn't finish like that one thing that I meant to finish before the beginning of the year. And I barely touched it. And I'm like, you know what? I've worked 12-hour days all January. I should give myself a little bit of slack, but I still have some stuff to show for it. But anyway, I only have one finished object that I can show you. The other ones I'll tell you about. Actually, I'll just tell you now. The other finished objects that I'm working on, I'm actually going to make a separate video for. I'm not really going to talk about it. I wanted to be a little bit of a surprise, but I will say it has something to do with Valentine's Day and my husband. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I plan to get that video out on Valentine's Day. But we shall see how that goes, and I will keep you posted on that. So I have like a couple projects in mind for that video. I'm done about half of them. So I have 2 more weeks to get them done. But anyway, so the only like finished project that I can show you is a repeat knit. And actually around this time last year, I had made the same thing. I guess there's just something about, like normally throughout the year, I'm not really interested, it's a hat, but I'm not really interested in knitting hats, except during, December through February. I want to knit all the hats. The rest of the year, I can't be bothered with hats. But I decided to knit the Chesley Tuque a second time, but this time in a beautiful dusty blue periwinkle color, and I'm obsessed with it. I knit it in like 2 days. This is such a quick knit. It's knit with worsted weight and mohair silk held double, and it just goes so quickly, and it looks, and I just love like the detail of it. Like it looks intricate, but it's really like the most easy pattern repeat. It's just wonderful. Like I wear this all the time. I have to like, the brim's a little low, so I try to fix it. One moment. Love how it like sticks up at the top. But yeah, I love my Chesley Tuque. I wear it all the time, especially in the mornings and at night. You know, I leave for work when it's dark, and then I come back home when it's dark and it's really cold at night and in the morning, here in Delaware at least, or it has been in January. So this has been keeping my little head and ears warm. I knit the Chesley Tuque last year, except in this color. It's like, which is the same color as my, it's literally the same yarn as my my first Cozy Classic raglan. But yeah, but this one is a little bit looser. I mean, like the yarn's obviously different. This one's is a little bit floppier, and I've worn it more. This one still needs to be stretched out a little bit. I ventured out into the snow this morning to grab the hat from my car because I needed to show you guys, and got a little bit of snow on it, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do, keep the snow off my head. But yeah, that's a Chesley Tuque. So I knit this out of 2 Madeline Tosh yarns. The worsted weight, the blue was Tosh Vintage, which is 100% superwash merino wool. And it is a worsted weight, and the color was called One of a Kind. I've tried looking for this color because I would love to make a sweater of this color, but I couldn't find it. I guess it's out of, like she doesn't dye it anymore. And then the mohair is Madeline Tosh in her impression base, which is 70% mohair, 30% silk in the colorway Moonstone. And I still have a little bit of this left over. I'll show you. Reach. I still have plenty of this left over. I could definitely find something to knit this with. So what I like about mohair is that there's so much of it, and you could just continue to use it until you run out of it, really. But this is a good color that I could mix with literally anything. So yeah, that's my Chesley Tuque. And will I knit a third one next year? Probably. I had bought that yarn with the intention of knitting this hat. I bought it in San Diego when my husband and I went to San Diego this year. San Diego and Joshua Tree for our vacation back in October. And there was this yarn called, it's gonna bother me, I can't remember what it's like, apricot something, apricot lane, or I'll put the name of it right here. They were in Liberty Station in San Diego, and it is just like the cutest little shop. Highly recommend if you're in San Diego area, go and check them out. Adorable, so aesthetically pleasing, clean, open, airy, bright. Like it was, you know how like some yarn stores can feel like overwhelming and cluttered. Like this was not it. It was just it's beautiful, beautiful yarn shop. But anyway. So that's my only finished object that I have to show you right now, but it's a good one, I think. Highly recommend this pattern. Like I said, it's so nice. I knit it twice. It is just a wonderful, fun little pattern that, again, you can knit up in maybe a day and a half. So yeah, the Chesley Tuque. All right, and then I guess we'll move on to works in progress. What do I want to show first? I guess we'll start with this one just to get it out of the way. You've seen this project several times over the past couple months, and it is my season's sweater. And I am so close to finishing it. I really am. I have like 2 more inches on the body, and then the ribbing. And then it'll be done. But this has just been an excruciating process. not like, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, the pattern isn't bad. The pattern is wonderful. I love the fabric. I love how squishy it is. It's just that it's taking so long because it's fisherman's rib. And in fisherman's rib, you know, you have to knit, you know, one stitch below the knit stitch. And so it's like you're barely progressing, you know. So instead of, you know, the stitches building on top of each other like this, it's, you know, build on top and then, you know, like in line with each other. Built on top, in line, built on top. You know what? Does that make sense? That's the best way I can describe it. But so yeah, it's just taking forever. I am happy that I ended up doing the sleeves first before the body. But yeah, it's just taking forever. There's really not much I can say about it. But my goal was to originally have this sweater done by by Christmas this past year, and it is now the end of January. Oh, sorry, got an itch. But yeah, my hope is to have this done before the end of February. I need to make this more of a priority, but like, it's, you know, as I've said in the past, I am an advocate for taking knitting on the go, and this is just too big to take on the go. And, you know, with life, especially in January, having working 12-hour days, not getting home until like 8 o'clock at night, and I have so much crap I have to do at home, this has just been neglected, and I've opted for other projects, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, my goal, get this done by the end of February. I want to wear it at least once before winter's over. So that is the season sweater. That's by Ozetta. Knit up in Ozetta's own yarn. I don't believe she is selling yarn at the moment, but I bought the yarn around this time last year, and it's just been sitting in my stash, and I'm finally happy to be using it. I do love it a ton. And I'm holding it double with Knit Picks Mohair, which is in the same color. So, okay. Or a similar color, not the same color, I should say. Okay, so that is the season sweater. Then we will move on to a half-finished project, which is the Spinifex Socks by Curious Handmade. And when I finished this sock, I then decided that I wanted to start that Valentine's Day project for my husband. So this is just waiting to be, the second sock is just waiting to be completed. I'm not sure, because like, I like to take knitting projects with me when I go on vacation. So I'm not sure if I'm going to take the sock with me to work on during vacation, or if I want to take other projects related to the Valentine's Day project with me on vacation. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do. Even though I leave tomorrow, I need to figure out what I'm doing. But yeah, this is the Spinifex sock. The pattern is interesting. Sorry, I have these long strings. Let me see. A little bit better, maybe. But yeah, so the pattern is interesting. It's what is there to say about it? So it is knit toe up, and I'm learning that toe up socks are not for me. I do not like toe up socks. I do not like how fiddly they are, especially in the beginning, and then how fiddly they are with the heel. Like, that is just so frustrating. This whole heel section, so frustrating. I mean, it's a cool pattern. You can't really like tell what's happening with it. You got these, what's it called? Twisted rib, or twisted knit stitch accent along here, and then this is purl in between, and then there's like another like little, like, you're supposed to, on the knit side it makes like a star. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, like, can you kind of see, like, right here on the knit side it makes like a little star, or on the wrong side I should say, but on the outward facing side it just looks like there was a mistake in the purl, you know? So, it's blowing outside. So I don't know how I feel about it. I do really like the yarn. This yarn was actually a gift from my friend Tracy. and it is it was a Christmas gift. Let me see if I saved the I know I saved the band somewhere. Oh, okay. It is Akara yarns, and they're tweed fingering based in the color brown. Yeah, I'm really enjoying working with the yarn. It is fun to work with. But I don't know how I feel about the pattern per se. But I'm already halfway done this one, so I need to make the second one. This back. And yeah, and I've learned that and no offense to Kira's Handmaids, like this is just like a preference. The way that she writes her patterns is that she goes by every row and tells you what to do. Which, I mean, so this pattern for this sock, I won't show you any details. So the pattern for the sock is literally 29 pages long, but like I'll keep it far enough so that you don't read the details. But like, see, like each row is a row that you knit, and a lot of it is just the same stuff over and over and over again. And some people find that, like helpful, and I, fine. Like I get that. I understand why people find that helpful. Like I do like I'd rather a sock pattern, for example, say, knit, 20 rows for the leg and then start the heel, instead of saying, knit 2 inches and then start the heel, or whatever it is. So I get that, but it's just information overload for me. It's just too much at once, and I get overwhelmed by it, and it brings me a lot of anxiety, which is a shame because Curious Handmade makes such beautiful sock patterns, and I do want to continue to make more of her sock patterns, but like it's just so much all at once. And I just find myself just reading through and then just making notes in the margin saying like, okay, you need to repeat this pattern 5 times, instead of me going through every row and be like, okay, did that one, did that one, did that one. I'd rather just like keep track of how many pattern repeats there are than go by every row and check it off. Like this pattern could have been like a 3-page pattern if it wasn't for taking every row and writing it out. And again, that's nothing against her. It's just a personal preference of mine. Like I know like so many people love the way she writes her patterns, and yeah, like that's great. I'm just not a fan of it, but I do love her socks. Like they're so beautiful. They're so elegant and dainty, and like they're beautiful. And I have like a bunch of her patterns that I want to make this year, but I guess I'm just gonna have to like revamp them for myself instead of just going through every row. But that's just my only gripe with the pattern. But it's not, again, nothing against Curious Handmade, nothing against the pattern itself. It's just the way it's written, not a fan of. Feel overwhelmed. Maybe if she were to make, and I know it's just like a lot more work, which I understand, like if she were to make like, okay, if you want the row by row version of the pattern, here it is. If you want just like the straightforward version of the pattern, then you can get this one. Like maybe that's something she could do, or at least that's, but like I'm just one person too. So like if I were to say like, hey, I want you to do this for me, like that's not fair to her, obviously. But if other people felt the same way I did, maybe that'd be something to consider, to do 2 separate versions of the pattern. But I don't know. But again, that's, this is how she chooses to write her patterns. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just not a way that I prefer to read patterns, So yeah, that is the Spinifex socks. And again, hopefully in February, I'll have the second one. I did end up making it a little bit larger than I intended it to. So these might end up being just socks for Phil. He is in need of some more socks for work. So maybe this will be a good work sock. So I just realized as I went through the podcast that I never talked about the Montrealer sweater that I made for my husband Phil. This was a long time coming getting this sweater finished. It was a labor of love, and Phil really ended up loving it. Which makes me happy. The minute I got it off the needles and blocked it. I steam blocked it so that he could have it immediately. He wore it to our church's community group. I didn't end up going, but he wore it to our community group, and told everyone that I made it for him, and he was so excited. It's probably his, he says it's like his favorite sweater right now. And that just makes me happy, and it makes me want to knit more things for him. Maybe not a sweater anytime soon, but definitely, hats and socks and things of the like. He is very knit worthy. He really is. I just tend to be a bit more of a selfish knitter because I know how to take care of my knits. But yeah, he definitely deserves a lot more knitted projects. And yep, again, this was the Montrealer sweater designed by Dells, and it was knit in the Wool Winders shepherd's wool that I've talked about, at great length because this took me a year to make. But I am glad that he finally has it, and he's happy to wear it all the time. The only thing that I changed about the pattern is that I omitted the drawstring in the hoodie, and he kind of requested that as well. Phil did. It was just like another thing to make just so it could, bother him. So, but yeah, it's still a really cool hoodie. He loves it and he wears it all the time. It's very warm and it's a nice fabric. It's not itchy or anything. I highly recommend it for yourself or your significant other, or you know, just anyone in your life. It is a good pattern to work on. All right, so there's that. And then my last work in progress is going to be a project that's going to take all year to finish, maybe even longer, because, because I am working on a granny stripe blanket like everyone else who got a advent calendar, a yarn advent calendar this year. I'm working on a granny stripe blanket. And let me tell you, it has been a journey. So here's what I got so far. There's not very much, but it's a long boy. He do be very long though. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. Kind of like at night, like if Phil and I are watching hockey or whatever, I'll take this out and start working on it. And watching my Seattle Kraken lose practically every game. But oh geez, it's getting kind of. I'm like just noticing my my crochet hook. It's getting like dye all over it. But anyway, so the amount of mental preparation I did for this blanket was astronomical. I did so many like test rounds and making sure I'm like, okay, like if I knit it this long, is each like stripe gonna be even? And because like I don't know if I want like that mixed match like kind of feel to it. And of course, like no matter how much I tried to plan it out, it didn't end up being that way. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And I've just like learned to accept it. But and of course, like the first row is tighter than the subsequent rows. But like in the beginning it wasn't. Probably because I was nervous. And like as I went through, like the more comfortable I became with it. So I mean, like it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. But I notice it. But if you like, spread it out, like you can't really notice. But yeah, that's been my process with this. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's been fun to work on. I've decided to I mean, like, I'm using the Advent yards that I got from Kelsey of Knitting Like Hobby and Stacy of Stress Knits Yarn. And I'm just going through day by day, alternating the colors. And I'll probably end up with an okay size blanket at the end of it. But I realized that I'm probably, at the end of it all, the blanket still isn't going to be big enough for a regular blanket, you know? So I think I decided that I'm going to unravel what I've made for the what's that stupid, that, not the stupid, I'm sorry, that the blanket that I tried making last year with my last Advent, and like I don't even want to look at it. It's been in the basket since January. I can't remember the name of it. Another Curious Handmade pattern. Again, not her fault. It was mine, the way it got messed up. But anyway, I think I'm going to unravel that and add that yarn to this blanket at the end of it. And then I have a bunch of like leftovers from old sock yarn and fingering weight yarn that are in like 20-ounce balls that I rolled up. And I could just add that to the blanket as well. Just to like keep adding to it. I figured why not, you know? So I think that's going to be my plan, but we'll see if, you know, my plan changes, or maybe, you know, at the end of 50 whatever mini skeins, like it will end up being like a decent size blanket, but we'll see. But yeah, so I've been enjoying it. I've been using a 3.75 millimeter hook the whole time. I felt like that worked for me. Like it wasn't like as tight, and I like how the fabric is crocheting up. It's tight enough that like you could wear this blanket and be warm, but it's not loose enough where it's like the holes are obvious, you know. But I've really been enjoying the granny stripe pattern. It's super easy. And like it was just those first initial rows that were excruciating. And yeah, but then like after those like first 2 or 3 rows, I got the hang of it, and it was starting to make a lot of sense. But I'm feeling good about it. So that is my granny stripe blanket, and I'll keep you guys posted on it as the year goes on. I'm sure you'll get tired of seeing it, but I'm really happy with it, and I'm keeping it in this pretty large basket, anticipating its growth. But yeah. Okay, so those are my works in progress. And oh, I actually wanted to make a point earlier. I totally forgot to, but I decided to participate in the the Maker's Dozen initiative, which is I can't remember if it's a make along or if it's just, you know, a challenge for knitters, where you make 12 projects just from yarn that you have in your stash. I wrote a I thought I wrote a page in like my journal. I guess not. Anyway, but so yeah, make 12 projects with yarn that's already in your stash. So I counted this as one. There's another project that I haven't shown you that does take yarn from my stash. And so I feel like that's fun to like keep track of the you know, like words. I think that's fun to like keep track of the you know, the projects that you're making with yarn that you already have instead of going out and buying yarn. I think what I would like to do this year, as much as I can, is for smaller projects, use the yarn I already have. And I'm sorry, I'm looking over here because all my yarn is right here. For my smaller projects, use yarn that I already have and try not to buy yarn for like socks and like hats or whatever, but only buy yarn for large projects like garments. because I don't have any sweaters quantity of yarn here. I guess technically I do over there, but like that's dedicated to like a project that I'm going to do for a garment regardless. But yeah, so yeah, I don't want to I don't think I want to buy any more yarn for socks, unless it comes to, you know, supporting some of my favorite makers and some of my friends. Like I did just buy some yarn from Kelsey. She was doing a herbology box thing that she's going to start doing. And I'm definitely gonna purchase that, but I think I'm gonna do DK weight instead of fingering, and then just make a hat or something out of it. But anyway, so I'm just rambling on and on. Sorry. Get back to my stuff. So yeah, that's just a little thing that I'm going to continue to work on is the Maker's Dozen initiative, the Maker's Dozen challenge, and yeah, just, you know, pull from my stash instead of, you know, searching for yarn online. And I think I am gonna start making socks again for my family this year for Christmas. I think I'm gonna do shorty socks instead, and I do have plenty. I have plenty of yarn to use for them here in my stash. So maybe that'll be another challenge in itself to make my family, you know, not so much scrappy socks, but like, you know, just socks out of stuff from my stash. Sorry, I've lost my words. Maybe I need more coffee. You ever just lose your words and then you just keep trying to find them and then you just keep sounding worse and worse? Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, getting back to everything, in my last podcast episode, I talked about my Make 9 and my intentions of the garments that I wanted to make this year. And I have not contributed to my Make 9 just yet. I have so many like knitting goals for February, but I'm definitely going to start with the Make 9 project in February. As soon as I finish my season sweater, I'm hopping on the Make 9. But when it comes to the Make 9, when I talked about it I keep wanting to say last semester, but last month, I added 2 sweaters in there that I thought I was going to make. And then the more I looked at the sweaters, the more I was like, this isn't going to be conducive to my body type. Slash, am I really going to wear this? Is this really going to be something I'm going to wear often? So I decided to switch out 2 of the sweaters for 2 other ones. So I figured I would give you that update now. And this is nothing against the pattern writers or the pattern, or, you know, it's just, I realized after, you know, looking at, you know, like if you like look at something for very long and you realize like, maybe this isn't, you know, maybe this just isn't for me. So I decided to switch out one moment. I switched out the VZ to start. I switched out the VZ sweater for the sweater number 8 by My Favorite Things. And I've been seeing all kinds of people make the sweater number 18, and it just looks so comfy, so cozy, so beautifully oversized. And I am blaming Amanda of the Crafting Sparrow by making one for herself and convincing me to make one of my own. So I have decided to go with that instead of the VZ sweater. And the VZ, it is a beautiful sweater, but again, the more I looked at it, it's just too cropped for me. It is, again, a beautiful sweater. It really is just too cropped for me. Am I really gonna wear it? Probably not. So I decided to get rid of the VZ. I'm sorry. And go with the sweater number 18 instead. I decided to switch out the newspaper pullover for the clove sweater. And I've seen all kinds of people making the clove sweater, and I love how simple it is. I love how neutral it is. It's not anything crazy. It looks very light. It is a DK weight sweater. I love the split hem, and I love the drop shoulder sleeves. I've been obsessed with drop shoulder sweaters. I mean, I'm wearing one now, technically. I love the look of a drop shoulder sweater, especially with an oversized garment. But this is a slightly oversized, but I could see myself getting so much more wear out of this one than the newspaper sweater. Yeah, I'm just obsessed with it. It would just be a beautiful, neutral sweater to have in my wardrobe. And yeah, just like, again, like in my make 9, like there might be one or two like fun, like, you know, more interesting sweaters like the Osprey or the September sweater. Is it September? Yeah, but definitely like the Osprey and the vest. Definitely a bit more interesting garments. But I'm trying to like look at stuff that I'm actually gonna wear and not just like knit it for the sake of it, like, oh, it's gonna be an interesting garment. Like am I actually gonna wear these? And I'm happy that I went through and like made these changes, and maybe I'm just being, you know, totally manipulated by Ravelry and Instagram and whatever, but I feel like these changes to my make 9 are good and I'm happy with them. So yep, that's my update for the for my make 9. And I figured while we're here, because I think I was gonna make like a separate video on this, but I decided like, well, we're here, might as well talk about it. Let's see. Okay, just making sure I've covered everything in my notes. I figured I would show you some like little changes that I've made to my knitting room. I guess like not really changes, but I mean, like for my yarn stash especially, I'll show you what I've done. But in January, I made a goal for myself to declutter every single room in my house because I was just getting overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that we had. And we're planning on redoing our basement space. Well, yeah, we're planning on redoing my basement space in the next couple months. And I figured like, well, since we're cleaning out the basement and the garage to make room for the stuff that's going from the basement into the garage, like let's just declutter every room in the house. I mean, it's January, might as well. So we did that, and I decluttered my space in here, and the biggest changes that I made in here was that I did a massive purge of my yarn. And I had yarn like in like tubs, and like that were just like in tubs that I like was never going to use. They were poor quality, like they didn't feel very nice, like they were like partial skeins, like very, you know, chunky, bulky weight yarn that again I just wasn't going to use. I wasn't interested in using. And you know, I was like, oh well, I'll just keep it just in case. I'm like, I'm never going to use it. So I went through and I put yarn into one pile for destashing that like people would actually maybe be interested in. And I also made a pile of like stuff that I was either going to throw away or give to Goodwill. The majority of it went to Goodwill. Like I think I only threw away a couple skeins because like they were like so tangled and I didn't want to like deal with fixing it for like a tiny little skein. I try to like give to Goodwill like partially full, or like, you know, like if not full skeins then like partial skeins, but like enough that you could like make something out of it. So yeah, I like did a whole destash and I'm really pleased with how this all looks now. Like it's not overwhelming like it used to be. So I figured I would just show you what I got going on down here. Okay, so here we are on my floor in front of my yarn collection. So in past videos, I'm gonna move to the side and see. In past videos, there was just yarn spilling out from these three, I guess they're not quadrants really, but like these three cubbies, there was yarn spilling out, there was stuff, you know, stuffed in these baskets. It was just overwhelming. So I decided to go through everything, and I'll just tell you what's in each. This basket, there's really nothing in it. There's like pom-pom makers and 2 random skeins of gray cotton yarn. It's not really worth showing. So there's that. This cubby is all my caked up indie dyed yarns, except for this one. This isn't indie dyed, but it fit in there. My caked up indie dyed yarns, they're mostly partial skeins. They can either, yeah, they can, for some, like there's enough to make 2 socks, but other ones they might just be used for only heels, toes, and cuffs. But yeah, this is my caked up indie dyed yarn skeins. In this basket is my leftover yarn from my what's it called? My Most Cozy cardigan that I made in collaboration with Bellish, and I plan on making the vest in my Make 9 with this yarn just to finish it off. And while we're on the topic of Bellish, I was informed at the beginning of January by Bellish that by the time this video goes up, Bellish will no longer exist, basically. They're not going to continue with the app, and on January 31st, it will no longer exist. So I just want to take this time to thank Bellish for the opportunity that I had to work with them and to show off their product and, you know, make some pretty awesome projects with their app. I always raved about them when I talked about them. You know, I thought they were gonna go places, and like this was gonna be, you know, it was an awesome product. It really was, and it does, you know, break my heart to see that they're no longer gonna pursue the app. And yeah, I wish them all the best, Megan and her team. And yeah, I will be taking screenshots of the stuff that I've already made, and hopefully I'll get to, you know, remake those sweaters and socks again in the future. So anyway, that's my little thing. But yeah, I'm gonna use this yarn to make a vest, just to get rid of it. Okay. And then in this cubby, we have some indie dyed yarns that I haven't caked up yet. I'm just keeping them in there. They're skeins, and I guess I'll go through and show you what I have. Might as well. I have this Desert Vista Dye Works self-striping colorway in the colorway Mothra. Because you know me and my moths. I just saw like a big dust go across. But in the colorway Mothra, I have the California Fiber Co. In the colorway, I think it's going to rain. I have Black Sheep Dye Works in the colorway Pot Wet Harvest Gold. This was a gift from my friend Judy. This is a single. I have Knitting the Hobbies I Smell Snow, another self-striping sock yarn. This was a gift from a follower, and this is Olive to You in the colorway Tolkien. This is a this is their Tolkien base, I should say. I'm sorry. The color is Cheeseburger in Paradise. But this is a blend of merino and cotton, 50-50, which is really cool. This is mid-coast string in the colorway Tar Healing Twist. Gives off that spinnacle vibe. And I think I'm gonna knit, these two together to make a funny pair of socks by Kelsey from Knitting Nakabi. I did buy these 2 skeins of yarn with her when I was in California earlier this year. I have the 25th skein from Stress Knits Advent. It's a full skein in her favorite base, which is fingering weight 80-20 merino nylon in the colorway On the Tree. Let's see, I have 3 skeins of Ozetta's worsted weight yarn undyed. I have 1 skein of Less Traveled yarn in the colorway Jade. It's a 75-25 base. I have 3 skeins. This is balled up, but it's a full skein of Ritual Dyes Undine yarn in the colorway Lamb's Ear. I plan on making the Moonset top or Moonset tee by Ozetta. That is in my Make 9. I have 1 3/4 skeins of Ritual Dyes Undine yarn in the colorway Summer Peach. Not sure what I'm going to make with this yet, but I will find out soon. I have 1 skein of Earth yarns in their Harvest Fingering, which is just an undyed skein. And then I have 2 skeins of Shepherd's Wool from Wool Winders. This is leftover from my husband's Montrealer sweater. In this basket I have project bags. I've already kind of gone through that, every project bag that I've had you've seen. This little cubby has yarn that was made what am I trying to say? This cubby has commercial yarn that it's basically all partial skeins, stuff, you got your Knit Picks, your Schockenmeyer. That's pretty much it in this basket. Knit Picks and Schockenmeyer. And again, all partial skeins that can make plenty of socks. But I decided to put them all in this little basket to hold it all together. And then there's this 1 full partial skein and then a couple cream cakes in the back, kind of hiding. But I have plenty of cream fingering weight yarn. So yeah, so there's that. This basket has roving for spinning that I haven't tackled yet. This basket, I actually have yarn that I'm going to use to make, I'm going to make a half and half triangles wrap, but it's actually going to be a baby blanket. There is a young woman in my church who is pregnant. She's having a baby in August, and a baby girl, and I love the idea, the look of the half and half triangles wrap. So I got yarn in these 2 colors for their baby girl, and I'm going to get started working on this in February and try to have it done by March. But yeah, so there's that. And in this basket, I have mohair. I have a bunch of mohair skeins. And at the bottom is the Ritual Dyes Winter Solstice box, or whatever you want to call it. And I started working on those socks at the beginning of the year in 2021. Never finished them, and they're, sit here at the bottom of the basket, shamefully. So there's that. So that's my whole setup here. I guess I'll get back to this spot. So after I decluttered all my stuff, I was left with a lot of yarn that could be destashed. And in the middle of January on my Instagram, I made a post saying, you know, like, here's a destash opportunity. I, you know, posted the yarn lots and the prices, and about half of my yarn has been sold, which is pretty great, but I still have some left over here in this this box, and it's still, you know, up for sale. I will link my my Instagram down below, and in my story highlights, I have a destash, and you know, show you, you know, what's for sale and how much it is. I have some knit picks. I have knit picks gloss. I have knit picks wool the Andes. I have some wool and threads yarn, and I have a bunch of knit picks tough puff, which is like a super bulky yarn that I'm sure someone will love and will use. But if you're interested in it, definitely take a look at my destash and send me a DM, and I will send the yarn over your way. But as I was, you know, as I'm, you know, decluttering stuff, I'm destashing. In the middle of it all, I actually did a yarn swap with a follower, and I swapped her a sweater's quantity worth of what's it called? Rosa Pomar, not Modine. Oh, Mungo. Rosa Pomar Mungo, which I used to make this cardigan, in a colorway that I like just had fallen out of love with, but like I had a sweater's quantity with it that I was gonna make this out of, but it shipped all the way from Portugal during a pandemic and it took forever to get here. But anyway, so I had a sweater's quantity worth of that, and she swapped with me three skeins of indie dyed yarn, and I thought I would show you. So the first one is a Woolberry Fiber Co. in her berry sock base in the colorway Sugar Plum Fairy. I've never had a Woolberry Fiber Co. yarn, so I figured, you know, like, you know, the follower Susan's her name. She showed me a lovely card. She offered it, so I was like, you know what, I'll give Woolberry a try. So this beautiful fuchsia purple will go here. And then there's also Lizzie Ann yarns in Dreamy Singles in the colorway Christmas in Avalia. And that Avalia is from Anna Green Gables. A beautiful blue color with speckles of pink and purple and greens. It's a fun little single. I'll go here. And then last I have the DeBowen Yarn Co., which is in our wool, which is worsted, 4-ply BFL in the colorway Bordeaux Cherries. So they're like fun, like pink, purple, mauve color. Also make a cool hat in the worsted, and that'll go right there. So yeah, my skeined indie dyes are building up. but yeah, a lot to choose from this year to make to add to the Maker's Dozen Maker's Dozen thing. So I guess that's really all I have to show you, I think. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for moving around the room with me. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope that you found it interesting. I hope that maybe you found it a little bit inspiring in your own knitting. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to share with you today. Like I said in the beginning, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch up on all the videos that I have to post. I do plan on adding in some like different style videos over the next few months. I do have, you know, a little bit of plan, a little bit of inspiration that you'll hopefully be seeing in the next coming months. And hopefully you get to stick around for that. Hopefully you like it. I guess I'll just leave this here. Thank you so much again for coming by and visiting and letting me visit with you. I enjoy the time that we spend together over the internet, just chit-chatting, talking about yarn and knitting and crochet and, what's going on in our, fibercraft lives. So until next time, I will leave it here. Stay safe, everyone. Keep knitting, and I will see you all later.